It's time to begin MLS play once again, and wouldn't you know, it's 1 versus 2 as Inter Miami against FC Cincinnati. We break it all down right here on the Inter Miami Weekly Show. Oh, we've been waiting for this with the Arsenal legend Kieran Gibbs. I'm Joe Malfa. Kieran, it is time to dive back into MLS play, and it's a terrific way to start once again. It's number 1 Inter Miami. It's number 2 FC Cincinnati right out of the gates. It's a reminder that after Leagues Cup, there's still something at the end of that horizon, and it's hopefully MLS Cup. And since he's one of the teams you got to go through, it's a great test right out of the gates.
It is. It's a perfect game to come back. It's such a huge game. You get these games every season where two teams are fighting for the title, and this is it. This is the one that everyone's going to be watching, you know. And obviously Cincinnati took the reign in the last game against the two sides. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting Miami to really come out strong for this game. You know, it was a good performance from Cincinnati last time. They know their strengths. How can Miami jump on their weaknesses and learn from that game and come back with a really strong performance?
Absolutely, and you're talking about two teams that right now, again, are separated by just 5 points in the table. They've played the same number of games. So Inter Miami here, Kieran, has an opportunity with a win. 8 games remaining to go 8 points clear. There's still Columbus behind FC Cincinnati, who have a couple of games in hand, but they're still 10 points back. But you could almost 8 points in 8 games, considering Inter Miami's form. That's a lot to make up. You could almost eliminate Cincinnati with a win in this one, and they have to know that going in.
They have to. I mean, listen, you make the gap 8 points, like you say, with 8 games to go. It's tough for Cincinnati to come back from that, and I think that a win for Miami will just give them that great deal of confidence to go and see it through and get the rest of the job done. Although they're saying that it's never that easy. You know, you have to go out there and get the job done. I think that Cincinnati will come into the game feeling good, especially after their last performance against Miami. I do think that Miami just have that little bit more quality if they're all on their game to beat Cincinnati. I think the recent performances we mentioned last week of Yannick Bright, Rojas, Redondo, I think, has come alive. Suarez is still performing up top. And the back line, they haven't looked like they've been in too much trouble. Teams haven't caused them, too much trouble unless it's been our own doing. So I think that obviously that needs to be cut out of our performances, those individual lapses in concentration. But for me, I think that this is a game for Miami to take by the scruff of the neck and get the win.
So getting back to MLS play now, it's coming off of 2 tournaments, essentially, since we last played an MLS match. We had Leagues Cup, obviously, and made it to the round of 16 there. But there was also the Olympics, and we had a couple of participants, of course, in the Olympics. Benja Kramaski made his Olympic debut for the United States. Diego Gomez had his Olympic performance with Paraguay. So coming out of that, how do players like Kramaski and Gomez use that experience now back into club play? We already saw it with Gomez coming right from the Olympics into scoring and assisting in Leagues Cup and being so instrumental in those matches against Toronto and Columbus. But how did they use that experience now from the Olympics and translate it to the stretch run of the MLS season?
Well, when you represent your country, it's one of the greatest honours that you can do as an athlete. So with that comes a great deal of should come a great deal of confidence, and you can see that in the performances of these boys at the moment, especially the ones that have gone on international duty. They've always come back pretty strong from the international breaks this season. So I expect that to continue, and I expect Benja's been very impactful for the team this year when he's played. He's obviously been out for a while, but this is a perfect time for him to come back into the side and really let everyone know that he still means business and grab that opportunity to help this team take the title. It will be such an amazing couple of months in front of them for this group of players to go and achieve that, and so hopefully they're feeling fresh and ready to go.
And Cincinnati, after that win against Inter Miami when they met before the Leagues Cup break, it sort of sent them into, I don't want to say it sent them into a little bit of a rough patch, because you could sense the rough patch for Cincinnati was coming, because they were dealing with a lot of injuries and it was all happening at once. That match against Inter Miami, though, they just turned it up because of the opponent always having the target on the back right now, Inter Miami. So knowing that Cincy beat us during a rough patch, because maybe the target's on the back, how do you start adjusting? And they've been doing it all season long, but how, as a player, do you start going into matches knowing you have that target on your back and that you're going to get that little bit extra, even from a team who might be struggling at that moment?
That's what you have to live with when you're at the top. You know, people want to take your place, and it's something that comes with the territory. I think for Miami in recent week, in the last couple of games, their opening stages of their games have been faultless. They've been excellent, and for them, it's been about how they keep hold of control of the game. You know, we spoke a lot about game management earlier on this season, or just where we thought that they were having slow starts to the game, and now it's kind of the opposite. Right. So it's really interesting to see how they match up in this game, because Cincinnati played a back five in the game before, and they did that on the weekend against Columbus. I think that they definitely need to be careful of that. I'm a big fan of matching up. If the team, you know, always has complete control of the ball like Columbus, I think you have to go toe to toe. But obviously in the later stages of the game, if you do get that early goal and you've got that cushion, I don't want to see them sitting back.
Right.
You know, I don't want to see them trying to soak up the pressure and getting the win. I would rather them continue to play the way that has brought them success, you know, which is getting control of the game, keeping the ball, and switching play and using the width to penetrate. I think that's when they've been their most dangerous, and I want to see them keep doing that. You know, I don't want them to go ahead and then all of a sudden freeze and sit back and drop deep and invite that pressure. I think that they're a good enough team not to do that, and they've shown it enough this season.
I think the last big thing that we need to address before we get into the Cincy match and before we get into the stretch run of the MLS season, I think from the outside, and I'm going to get on my soapbox here maybe a little bit and preach a little bit. Maybe, forgive me for diving too much into this and being too emotional about it. I think there's been a lot of noise from the outside that it's Inter Messi, right? It's not Inter Miami, and if Messi's out, Inter Miami can't get it done. I think we've dispelled all that conversation. I think over the last couple of months when he was away, of course, with Copa America, lifting that trophy with Argentina, and then from there getting into Leagues Cup and still missing him as he's recovered from the injury and still waiting for him to come back. We've won enough games and we've shown enough dominance to where I think people need to start acknowledging and talking about the rest of the group as well. Obviously, we would very much like for Messi to come back immediately, because when you can add the greatest player of all time to the group, that's never a bad thing. But this team is very capable. If you remove him from the equation, this is still a top 2 team in MLS, and I think we've proven that over the last couple of months.
Absolutely. I think, what is it, 11? I think it's 11 consecutive games that Messi hasn't featured now, and that run has been incredible.
The blemishes have been few without him.
Of course, and long may it continue for the boys, because, you know, no one likes that. When you're tarnished with that brush of, you know, you're only good because you have a player. I think that it's been great for them to get rid of that. 11 games is a long enough time. It's a significant portion of the season. So for them to have not only gotten those results, but also the performances, Joe, let's be honest, they've been good. They've been more than good, above average in my opinion, and they deserve to be where they are at the top of the table.
And setting up to be the biggest game of the MLS season. When we get to the end of the regular season, you might look back at this one and say that's where the Supporters' Shield and first place in the Eastern Conference was decided. It's number 1 Inter Miami. It's number 2 FC Cincinnati. 5 points separate us right now. A win sends us 8 points clear at the top. This could be it right here at home at Chase Stadium this Saturday, August 24th. We can hopefully discuss a win next week on the Inter Miami Weekly Show. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube so you can be here for that conversation.